What is it like being a Jamaican doing business in Ghana? Hi, I'm Xavier Murphy, founder of Jamaicans.com. And today I talk to Lakeshia Ford, a Jamaican who has been doing business in Ghana. Welcome, Lakeshia. How are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm well.
Good, good. I know you and I were to do this for quite some time, linked up, linked up in Jamaica and so on. But now it's finally happened, and I'm really excited.
Finally.
Really excited. We had some long conversations there in Jamaica.
Yeah,
I'm
we
talking
sure
about
did.
Ghana. So
Yes.
tell us about your background growing up. I know you're Jamaican American, and also doing some living in Ghana and doing some awesome things there. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, and your titles.
Oh, sure, sure. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I am elated to be on this platform, and it was amazing meeting you. And thank you for having patience because, yes, we talked like over a month ago and we've been going back and forth, but we're finally here. So thank you. Um, so for me, wow. So I am Jamaican. I was born in America, but of course, of Jamaican heritage. My entire family is from Jamaica. My father's from St. Catherine. My mom is from Ochi. And they migrated to the States. I'm first generation American born. Everyone older than me is from Jamaica. Everyone younger than me was born in America. So or even my birth essentially is kind of like a marker for my family where, you know, we essentially started to settle in the States. But of course, you're raised Jamaican and that's just who you are. And I embrace my culture through and through.
Oh,
So
let me stick a pin there to let folks know. Talk to her nice. She have Jamaican passport.
please talk to me
So
nice. Yes,
talk to her nice. All right,
I
and
actually do.
fully, fully, full anything. And I'm not.
Yachty.
Yeah, full
Yeah.
yard, full yard. So, all right.
Right. So, Ghana, wow, Ghana was really my introduction to Ghana was during my time at Spelman College. I'm a graduate of the illustrious Spelman College. I studied abroad during my time there, did a semester in Ghana, and honestly, that was just the life changer for me and my introduction to the country. While I was here, I went to Ashesi University, took some courses at University of Ghana, and also interned in the media space. So while I was in school, I started to build my professional network, and those people really just stuck with me.
All right. All right.
Yeah, they stuck with me, and eventually, after my graduate program, I got a fellowship to do research in Ghana for about a year. Came to Ghana, did the research, reconnected with my people. And honestly, my research was super slow. So I started to support people with their writing, getting their stories sent to media. And after some time, people started to pay me to do that. I also started training people in customer service. So that was really my beginnings of my entrepreneurship
I was,
journey
I was
here.
about to ask about that. How did you get into business and entrepreneurship?
Right. So I started training people for free because customer service, I saw that there was a gap and an opportunity to do something about the issue here in Ghana. Started to train people and was also writing and supporting people with media coverage. Then eventually people started to pay me or, suggest that I take some type of salary for it. And I was like, wait, I'm getting paid for this. I think I can make this into something. And that's really the beginnings of, yeah, exactly. That was the beginnings of Ford Communications, which is a PR agency based in Ghana, West Africa. I founded it. I have partners here in Ghana, but I'm the managing director and the founder of the company. And the whole idea is about connecting Africa and the international market. So I support multinational businesses that want to do business in Ghana. I support them with their communications, media coverage, marketing, and public relations.
Awesome.
During the pandemic, we added on digital marketing as well. And
Awesome.
we also work with local companies in supporting them with getting international media coverage. So Ford Communications is right at the middle with bridging the gap. I know that's like a cliche now, but that is really our North Star
Well,
and the work that we do.
I know you talked about your company. One of the big titles, I said, folks, talk to her nice. You are still, I believe, the vice president of the Jamaica Ghana. Is it Business Association? Correct me here.
Yeah. So just to maybe fast forward through the entrepreneurial story, I was doing Ford Communications, but then started to realize that there was a lot of talk about the diaspora coming to Africa and Africa being the future, which is true. But I said, we can't talk about the progress, especially the economic progress of Africa, without talking about the Caribbean. We can't leave out the Caribbean because a lot of Africa's economic history is closely linked with the Caribbean and vice versa. So I started to do programming and events around linking the cultures, the Ghanaian and Jamaican culture. I started out doing parties and then transitioned into looking at the economic relationship between Africa and the Caribbean at first. So I started a platform called Wood and Water, and that is all about connecting the future of Africa and the Caribbean through trade, investment, and pop culture.
Okay, and
So I
that's
was
still, and that's what's the website for? Is it just like you said it, Wood and Water? Can you spell it out so we
sure. Wood and Water
interested?
is of course, www.wood, WOODXWATTA.com, Wood on Water, right?
Okay,
And
all
of
right.
course, it's a homage to Jamaica, paying homage to Jamaica. Wood and Water is about connecting the future of Africa and the Caribbean through trade, investment, and pop culture. So I was doing that work, and then the Ghana Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, the conversation around that started with our honorary consul, Honorable Mr. Osei Bonsu, who is sat here in Accra. We literally have a consulate, Jamaican consulate in Ghana, and he's an honorary consul. That conversation started, and because of my work with Wood and Water, I got appointed as vice president. I was recommended and appointed to be the vice president of the Ghana Jamaica Chamber of Commerce. And that
Awesome.
is how we have landed where we are now.
So I'm gonna go back to Wood and Water. Can you
Yeah.
give us an example of an event that really was successful there and brought Jamaicans and Ghanaians together to discuss business and connection? I mean, I know once Jamaicans and Ghanaians get together, I can tell you.
Content. Exactly.
Oh yeah. So give us an example of what you do there. An event. Sorry.
Exactly. So Wood on Water, it is an event. So it has taken the form of a business brunch, right? So Wood on Water has two parts. So there's a business brunch where we literally invite people. Our first year doing it, we invited people. We had about, I don't know, like 100 people. We did panel discussions. We had 3 panel discussions, one focused on culture, and one focused on business. The culture part, we had Spotify Africa, we had Surf Ghana, which is a surfing collective here in Accra, and we had dance hall artist from Ghana, Stoneboy, share his voice and his thoughts on the
Uh,
connection. Yes. So Stoneboy was our main celebrity and voice speaking on the connection between Ghana and Jamaica. And then on
wow.
the business side, we actually got sponsorship from Republic Bank, which is a Trinidadian bank who has presence here in Ghana. But my idea and thinking was to put forth the people and companies who are um, taking up the mantle to show that we do have a viable trade route. We do have a viable business route between the Caribbean and Africa. So there was Republic Bank, there was ZPay, which is a mobile money company here in Ghana, doing great work in the Caribbean. And we had the COO of Republic Bank, ZPay, and there was one more. It escapes me, but I wanted to show the economic side, as in the connection and possibilities, as well as the cultural. So that was our first Wudanwata. People came. We had a curated menu. We had rice and peas. We had aki. We had what else? Um,
Aki grew there. I saw Aki trees that nobody picking. I was there in last year.
It's
Nobody picking.
amazing. Honestly, Ghanaians don't eat ackee, and the ackee is just here dropping on the floor, and people don't understand that. That's gold to us. When I
I
see that,
know.
this is
I know.
blasphemy.
So you touch on two things, and I'm kind of diverting from the questions I had in mind. But you talked about the connection,
Yes.
and there's such a connection. In my experience, I mean, I went to an event and I saw this guy realize I was Jamaican, and we spoke for about 45 minutes just about the connections. Talk to me on because you went to study there. You just said coming back here. What is
Mhm.
that connection for you like, and what's the connections you see from a cultural perspective? What do you observe and see? And then I have a second part to something that you had mentioned also
Yeah.
about without water.
Sure. So cultural connections, look, we literally are the fruit of Africa, as in Jamaicans. We are the fruit of Africa. Like, we're a culmination of West African people. But most directly, we have a very direct connection to the Akan tribe here in Ghana. Um, of course, we know about our Queen Nani. We know about her brother Kojo. Kojo is an Akan name. We have locations in Jamaica like Akompong, which is a derivative of the place here in Ghana called Ekrompong, which is not far from Accra, actually. So we have all of uh, these derivatives of what is indigenous here in Jamaica, which shows the cultural retention that we've been able to hold on to and keep, in terms of our identity. Our foods are very similar. As I told you, Aki is here. I don't take it for granted that Aki is here and that's our national dish. So we have even an agricultural history that links us. Of course, culturally, you can't say reggae without the drum, which is from the African continent. But
Yeah.
one thing I found interesting, and I need to do a little bit more research on this, but I'm just going to share it. Maybe someone in the audience can further this speculation. Um, in Accra, or a little bit outside of Accra, which is like the beginning of the eastern region, there's a place called Kete. And there's a drum called, we know we have the Kete drum. And I ask the question, I wonder if our Kete drum in Jamaica is from Kete here in Ghana. Let's research it, let's look into it. But this is just an example of the cultural retention or even the similarities that I see and pick up on as a Jamaican living in Ghana and hearing some of and learning about different parts of the culture. Um,
Nice. Yes.
More specifically, like I said, we are direct descendants from the Akan tribe, as well as some tribes from Nigeria, as well as Congo, which came later on. But more like very directly, we are Kromanti people. Kromanti is in Cape Coast, right? It's in
Mm,
Cape Coast. right on the coast in the western region, on the coast of Ghana. And our direct connection with Jamaica is with Cromanti. Cromanti is a smaller tribe under the Akan tribe. But when you hear words like Asafo, Asafo is, it means flag, and there are the Asafo people here. But then we have names in Jamaica like Asafa,
Right, right.
we
Yes.
have names like Asafa, which, like I said, let's do a little bit more research, but
And
I'm
see
hearing
if
a lot of similarities in the
oh,
name
there is
language.
so much. I mean, I think, and I've said this before on previous interviews and previous previous videos that I've done. I digged in to find out where I'm from. And so I'm Ewe, as they say there in Ghana. I hope I'm pronouncing it right.
Mhm.
I'm directly, my DNA shows Ewe.
Wow,
Um,
that's
and
interesting.
and so the conversations I have when I'm in Ghana was just different because they're telling me about my people.
Hmm.
Um, I'm Mafa from Nigeria, and
Hmm.
Ewe, my mom's side or maternal is Ewe, and my paternal is Mafa, Nigeria and regions near Nigeria. But
Right.
the other big one I realized was the Anansi.
How could I forget? Yes.
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 you know, that,
Anansi means spider. And as we know, the Anansi stories in Jamaica, like we grew up on them. My uncle still tells the Anansi spider stories when we meet
yeah, we had an Anansi
Uncle
festival
Calvin.
there. We had an Anansi festival. There. Ruth there did
Mhm.
the Anansi festival. Yes, and they were blown away that their Anansi from Ghana traveled all the way to the Caribbean, and
Yeah.
so the connections are there. I'm going to switch up a little bit. You
Sure.
mentioned business connections, and you
Hmm.
mentioned a couple companies that are there. And I know you can't divulge too much, but how much interest are you seeing? I know you went to the diaspora conference and you traveled back and forth to the Caribbean a lot. How much interest are you seeing from Caribbean Jamaican businesses in entering the African market?
Yes. So what I will say is I see there's a budding interest. I won't say it's huge. And I think that is more so because we're not as informed about each other. We're not as sensitized about each respective market to have a fully sparked interest in doing business. But there are a good amount of businesses that want to access larger markets that are selling actual products. And they know that Africa is on the horizon in terms of um, market share and, like, enlarging their market. Africa is definitely a market that is essentially untapped for a lot of businesses. So I'm seeing a budding interest, but I'm also seeing there are a select few who know they want to go to Africa. There's a budding group who are open to the idea because they know that opportunity avails in terms of the numbers. But where we are is, we need to be a little bit more informed about each other so that we can kind of make those harder business decisions.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, as I shared with you earlier, we have the shining example of Republic Bank, which is a Trinidadian bank. It's not Jamaican, but this is just an example of a Caribbean institution seeing the opportunity and not just in theory but in practice. They have branches here, they have a presence here, and they're doing quite well. They're here, they're activating. um, So
Yes.
I think that's kind of just the beginning, and we'll have more once we
and
can
I, and
work
I
on
know there's been, and
information.
I know of, I don't want to divulge names, but I've heard of a couple other interests from Jamaica, and
Hmm.
there is there's others from Jamaica there, um, but opportunities. What would you say are some of the great opportunities for folks who are thinking of doing business there?
Yes, so for sure, goods and services, agriculture, technology. What do I mean by that? So there's the interest of Jamaican businesses and investors coming to Africa, and there's also the interest of Ghanaian businesses and investors working with Jamaican projects as well. So I know, we're huge with hospitality. There are investors on this side of the continent who are interested in real estate, who are interested in residential, commercial real estate, hotels, as well as I said, residential real estate in terms of investment, agriculture as well. Solar farming is budding for Jamaica in terms of investment from the Ghanaian to Jamaica side. In terms of Jamaica into Ghana, what I'm seeing primarily is a huge gap, and I'm giving this away for free. A huge gap for goods and services. We're amazing at tourism, as in Jamaicans are amazing at tourism. There's a huge opportunity to do training for Ghanaian tourist hospitality providers.
Right,
So
right,
it's
right,
customer service or hotel management. There's a huge opportunity there. We've been doing it for decades and we've been leading at it.
right.
Ghana really is the gateway to Africa. And as we know from the year of return, that has sparked a huge interest. So their tourism industry is also rising, and that has opened up a gap for more knowledge sharing. So the opportunities there in terms of Jamaica coming over to Ghana, I would say
Doing that. Yeah.
is goods and services, more so services, more specifically in the hospitality and tourism industry.
Awesome. Hmm.
From Ghana into Jamaica, investment in assets, real estate, as well as technology. Um,
Awesome. Awesome.
yeah.
So let me ask you this. You've been doing business there for a while.
Mhm.
What do you, well, first of all, how difficult is it in terms of the entry? Okay, what do I mean by that? Do I, as a Jamaican, do I need some type of specific licenses, some certain sort of things that I need to do to own a business there, or is it just like a regular Ghanaian? That's part one of the question. And
Mhm.
then part two is the flip side, a Ghanaian who wants to do business in Jamaica. How does their government handle it? And you don't have to go too deep. If you just said there are specific paperwork that they have to fill out, we don't have to get into what it is.
Yeah. So I would say the barrier to entry for Ghana proverbially and theoretically is low. However, you always need support entering a new market. So you can start a business. You do need to have Ghanaian partnership, depending on how much money you're starting with capital, right? How much capital you're starting with. But this is why entities like the Ghana Jamaica Chamber of Commerce is in place, where we hold people's hands and make sure they get connected to the right partners and do the right vetting and get their paperwork in place correctly. So yes, the barrier of entry may be low. It's low, but in terms of navigating it, I wouldn't say it's the most seamless. But entities like the Ghana Jamaica Chamber of Commerce is in place to support any international person, most specifically Jamaicans that want to do business in Ghana. So definitely connect with us.
Okay.
Um, Vice versa, doing business in Jamaica, I mean, you definitely have to have your documents in place. I think the barrier to entry for Jamaica is also lower. Like, you know, you can do business and access the market once you have a viable business and have the investment to back it. Again, you can do it, but navigating Jamaica's systems and policies and things of that sort. What I would say to international people, or more specifically Ghanaians, get connected with Ghana Jamaica Chamber of Commerce. You know, we have connected with chambers of commerce there and different business entities to make sure this process is seamless and that, you know, we're doing good business.
Okay.
So both countries have a low barrier to entry, but the navigation is not the easiest. And I imagine both countries are working on making it a bit more seamless for people to navigate the systems. But this is where we have seized the opportunity with the Ghana Jamaica Chamber of Commerce to support people with doing that.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. So, what do you love about doing business there?
right. So, wow. So I'm very ambitious in terms of like the vision to dismantle the misconception about Africa. That's always been my North Star ever since I was a student. And doing that work has come in the form of the communications company I started and I'm working in. It looks like Wata. It looks like the Ghana Jamaica Chamber of Commerce. And it's this idea of closing the gap between the two places. So I love the process of closing that gap. Is it easy? No. But I love knowing that I'm waking up every day serving Black people or serving Jamaica and Ghana in the form of facilitation, in the form of storytelling, in the form of event activation, where we can gather people around very important topics like economic development, restorative economics between both countries. Imagine this: the strongest trade that Ghana and Jamaica has had historically has been the transatlantic slave trade.
Mm,
Ever since then, can we really talk about bilateral relations between the two countries?
mm, yeah.
Very little, you know, that we can talk about. There are companies that trade between Ghana and Jamaica. The percentage is quite low. So, waking in terms of your question, what do I love about doing business in Ghana? I love the idea and the process of serving the purpose of bringing Black people together to do business. And it's
Awesome.
not just Black people, because obviously we're very diverse in our population in Jamaica, but it's the idea of serving the two countries, serving the purpose, getting their economics to speak to each other. We're connected culturally, historically, but not financially.
Wow.
So
Wow. Yeah.
that's what I
Powerful.
love.
Very powerful. So, a business type question from,
Mhm.
let's say, not left field or whatever. If someone comes into Accra and a business person is looking to impress that person, where are they taking that person?
Okay. Well, I mean, strategically speaking, you have to know what the person's interested in, right?
Well,
Number
yes.
one. But fine, even if we don't get those answers, there are really cool things you can get into here. I mean, superficially talking about like kind of what we know and what's popular. Of course, while you're in Accra, there's the Kwame Nkrumah Museum. There's the W.E.B. Du Bois Museum. You know,
By the
some
way,
of
that museum have a whole heap of tree around there, and the them just dropping off.
exactly right. That's a added bonus. You guys can get some free ackee and just do what you have to do with it.
That might be true.
Exactly.
Sorry,
Um,
I interrupted you. You said the museum was one.
so the museum is really cool. In terms of Accra, there's a lot of like, Accra is strong for their nightlife.
Okay.
Accra is strong for their nightlife, but outside of Accra is super interesting as well. People go to the slave castles, which is one
Mm,
aspect. I mean, I think every person of color or every person of African descent should see it at least once in their life. There are really great beaches in that area. Independent of that, there's the Eastern region, or if you continue on, like that Cape Coast where the slave castle is, if you continue on, you'll be in the Western region. There's Axim. They have beautiful hotels, beautiful beaches there. A lot of, I would say, eco friendly lodges on the coastline.
okay.
What else? I also encourage people to go to the north. That's where the elephants are. Um, there's some cool lodges up there, but it's also just a very different vibe. A lot of times people come to Ghana and they stay in Accra and think Accra is Ghana. No, they're like over 15 regions. I think we're about at like 16 or 17 regions. There's so many different regions and multiple languages spoken in the country alone. So those are some things that you can get into in terms of art. Amazing museums, amazing art. The fashion is just out of this world. Super creative. The decor, there's a lot of these indigenous formats of creating clothing. There's kente, which is from the cloth from the Akan tribe, right? And each tribe kind of has their own version of kente. There's batik, which we have in Jamaica as well, but it's from here, and there's some really cool, innovative fashion designs that young designers
Oh
have
yeah,
created.
I got an outfit made, and within the guy made it within a day. You know, I mean, the Jamaican tailor, it could be 3 4 years.
Exactly. I mean, the Ghanaian tailors, they know how to take longer than it's supposed to, but they're very fast actually. And
Oh,
sometimes they can just look at you and not know your measurements, but get it right.
oh
Um,
yeah, okay,
so the
that thing
talent,
fit right, just right.
right? The talent is there. So I would say those are some things that could help impress people and
Okay,
really speak to, I would say, not just entertain them, but edify.
okay, and I agree with you 100% on visiting, the slave castles. It's an experience that I will never forget.
Hmm.
Visited both the Amina,
Elmina.
and then the one above it. I'm just recently visited that one, but it's an experience. I think every human being, but especially us with direct ancestry should visit, because yeah, what we're survivors, and that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it. We're
Yeah.
survivors.
Do you
Uh,
know there's one in Accra? There's one in Osu. There's a slave castle in Osu as well.
I didn't visit that one. I heard about that one, but I didn't get to visit that
Yeah,
one.
it's not as popular, but it's a fun fact. Fun fact, there's one here too.
Probably on the next visit. I will be back on the next visit. So, where do you get your Jamaican food fix?
Me cook my own food. I
All
cook
right.
my food.
I kid all about. So,
Yes. I'm not gonna lie, because I gotta keep it real with you guys. Sometimes I put some Grace Kennedy Aki in a barrel and I send it over. Sometimes, you caught
all
me.
right, all right, all right. You got to do what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do.
Exactly.
So,
So yeah, I cook
so,
my own food. What
so
I
Ghana.
will do,
Oh,
okay.
sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, I was saying what I will do is when I'm visiting Jamaica, my family, because I'm a country girl, my family will put together some pimento for me, blend up some pepper and our seasonings, So I bring it home. I put it in my
Nice,
suitcase and I cook
nice.
my food.
So Ghanaian food, one dish. Give me a dish that you would recommend anybody visiting Ghana, Jamaican especially. Try this.
I'm a little caught between multiple dishes, but what I would tell people to try is probably the wache.
Okay.
Yeah, try the wache because
What's what?
Ghanaians love wache. Wache is a form of rice. It is very similar to our rice and peas, like Jamaican rice and peas, but they use, I think it's like black eyed peas, and they have an assortment of things, and the rice is served in a leaf. So you have egg inside. Ghanaians love egg. It's like a running joke, but Ghanaians love eggs. There's egg inside. There's spaghetti. They'll even add some like coleslaw on the side or like some veg. Um, and the rice itself is like rice and beans, and then stew. Their stew is made from tomato, so it's not like brown stew chicken. It's tomato stew. So all of that, and they have this sauce called shito. It's based from shrimp, and dried fish. Ghanaians love their shito. So all of that is all in one. And I think that's a good experience for anybody coming over to Ghana, just to kind of tap into the Ghanaian palate, the spice levels, the different directions and
Right,
just
right.
texture, that's a good experience to have, especially the unwrapping of the leaf. It's a whole vibe.
So, okay, all right. So, um, thank you, Lakeisha, for spending some time giving us some insight on doing business there. What advice would you give anyone that's thinking, and you kind of did a little bit in terms of saying contact the Chamber of Commerce, but anything else that you'd say is key if they're thinking of moving to Ghana, and also, you talked about the business part, but any key point you have for them, anyone?
Sure, I have a lot to say. I'll try to be concise. But for sure, what I would say is in terms of the process to make your decision, you should do it in an iterative way, as in, come for 2 weeks. Don't make a decision to live here after a 2 week vacation. If you come for 2 weeks, come back for 3 months. See if you really like it. See if your spirit takes the place, if the place takes you. You really got to know how you feel here. So that's what I mean when I say in an iterative process. If you love it after 3 months, great, make the decision. But people come here during December, they have a blast and they're like, I'm moving to Ghana. And they move to Ghana and they realize that they don't have the heart that it takes to navigate the place and be here in a long-term way. So take your time, keep coming for longer and see how you love it and like it, and maintain your friendships. Network is everything. What's different between the States and Ghana is that the States have systems. Ghana's systems are people. People are the system, right? It's who you know, not just who you know, but who knows you. So
Jamaica too. Right.
that in mind, very similar to Jamaica. Treat everybody well, of course, but of course, don't have sense. I know that sounds so bad, but that's real. Like, keep your sense, just because, a lot of people romanticize back to Africa, we're going back home, and you come with your open heart, come with your open hands. No, remember your knowledge and your wisdom. Don't walk and leave it. Walk with it. Integrity is number one, no matter what you see. Keep your integrity. keep your principles. Jamaicans, we're very principled people. Sometimes we're not, but our principles, we have them. Keep your principles. There are no shortcuts. You might see some, but as we say in Jamaica, shortcut draw blood. Don't take no shortcut. Do what you have to do. Yes, do what you have to do to get things properly. What else? So integrity, take your time to make the decision, and know why. Know why you want to come. I like to say, I think my professor said this to me before. Some people are lured here and some people are led here.
Mm.
Led, or are you following the sexiness of Africa? It's new, it's cool, there's Afro beats, it's at the forefront of the conversation. What is your reason for wanting to move here? Right?
Wow.
And that's very important because your authentic reason, the authenticity of your desire is what's going to help you thrive here
Awesome.
and have tenacity and have resilience. If you're not authentic with your why, the first inconvenience, you're going to be ready to go back to Jamaica, ready to go back to wherever you're, living, whether it's the States or the UK or wherever. So those are some pieces of advice. I have a lot more to say,
Great.
but that
Oh man,
is
no, that was great.
amazing.
Lord or led, that is going to stick in my mind.
Mhm.
If you're Lord or led there, and that's
Yeah.
that's some great advice. Now, um, you probably have come upon a couple of different languages. Maybe I'm
Mhm.
not sure.
Mhm.
And how do you typically say informally goodbye? Or are you still just saying English bye?
No. Yeah, for bye, you can say bye, but in tree, we'll say Yeveshia, and that means we'll meet again.
Eveshia,
No, Yebeshia.
Iabeshia,
Yebeshia.
Yebe,
Uh-huh.
Yebeshia. All
Uh-huh.
right,
Yes.
all
Ye
right,
is we, be will, Shia
okay,
is meet. Yeveshia.
Yebeshia.
Mm-hmm.
Lakesha, Yebeshia.
Yes, Yeveshia. Yo. Medase Bibre, which means thank you so much in Tree.
What was that one? No, Yabash.
Medase Bibre. So thank you so much.
Okay, all right, Yebeshia.
All right, Leeta.
Show some love now. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss a video.